I'm Kevin Casey. I'm a professional mixed martial arts fighter. And right now, what I'm about to do is issue a warning out to all other competitors.
I don't want overs. I just expect them to happen.
Fatty's gonna fatty is real.
Oh, give me fucking truth, baby! Come on! Let's go!
Welcome to this week's edition of the MMA Analysis podcast. Sean, we're lonely this week.
All Canadian editions, you know it's gonna be bad.
Yeah, CanCon at its finest. The CRTC is having a field day right now. I'm sure that I'll be in their good graces when I head back into work whenever the podcast comes out. So, yeah, we've got a card this week. You know what? For as awful as this card is, there's a lot of fighters that we love on this card. So we'll have some fun with it. But
the only saving grace is when we have some fans of or friends of the MMA analysis on these absolute horrendous cards. That's the only saving grace.
That's right. I heard rumor that Thick Willie did an interview with one of our favorite media members, also a friend of the MMA analysis. And he talked about how Thick Willie is the greatest nickname that has ever existed for any fighter ever. That might be a direct quote.
Is that what he said, Brad?
I think that's what he said. Yeah.
Well, everybody will have to tune in to the TSN MMA show to listen to Thick Willie discuss that.
But enough about shilling for other networks, because we are brought to you by the Hammer Betting Network. Although if we keep up last week's performance, I'm not sure they're going to keep us around for much longer because I got cooked.
We went 2-0 with the Munich and consensus the week before, and then of course we put out a little extra content last week for the big card. So it was inevitable that we were going to go into. The one was close, the other one was not. We'll discuss that.
Absolutely. Anything else you want to add before we hop right into the recap here, Sean?
It's dumb because we don't care about drug testing and all that stuff, but hilarious that all of a sudden it comes out and they're like, actually, you know what? You guys, you can just rehydrate with IVs now. This supposedly changed in 2019 and USADA just doesn't tell anybody. So just more of the Mickey Mouse-ness that is USADA and MMA in general. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Clown show of a sport. I don't know, man.
Who cares?
Somebody said that like if you need an IV to rehydrate, I still think that the rules are weird. Like it's supposed to be administered by a doctor if it's medically necessary. If it's medically necessary that you would need an IV to rehydrate, like should you really be fighting?
Yeah, but that is this sport.
Yeah. I mean, should you do something where you agree to go out there and get punched in the head for a living either? Probably not. But
for $8,000 at the most, for some of these guys. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. So we will kick it off by breaking down or recapping UFC 284. There were some guys on this card. It was supposed to be like a big deal. I don't know. Did this feel like a big deal to you?
No, because I felt like it was an extremely top-heavy pay-per-view with some, Aussie, New Zealand fighters sprinkled in that some are very bad and some are overhyped, and that's about it. So I don't know. There wasn't much. It felt like there wasn't much media push for this one. It's tough when neither of these guys are big shit talkers, and Mac and Cheese didn't fight anybody until he fought DuBronx, and so then he was technically the number 2 pound for pound fighter of course. According to a bunch of it's stupid. It's very dumb, but it was an awesome fight. I think it was a hardcore fight fans pretty awesome dream matchup. I mean, we don't. A lot of times when we see these fights where a champion's going up in weight, it's it's either stupid or it's just not as big of a deal. But this one was pretty good, and I think it delivered. So
it was definitely a high quality fight, that's for sure. I saw
high
some people
level.
going overboard saying it was like a top 10
Fight
fight
of the
of all
year.
time,
Yeah.
and like stupid shit. Like it was a good fight between two good fighters. Honestly, I don't care about the scorecards in this one or who's pound for pound number one right now. I slightly edged it to Mac and Cheese, which probably means that he deserved the win because I don't like that dude. He annoys me and he's very ugly. So the fact that I scored the fight for him probably means that he actually won. But I guess I could see the case for Volk. I think you've got to be trying to find a way for him to win that fight, though.
Yeah, I agree. I had no bets on the main event. It was actually kind of nice to just kind of watch it as a fight fan. You don't usually get too much of that in this day and age where I just don't have money on any kind of action in the fight, and it's a main event. So I was cheering for Volk, and when that 5th round came, I was really cheering him on to get that done. But according to the rules right now, that's a Mac and Cheese win. I do think we probably should start asking for more action when guys are getting backpacked with a body triangle. I know like Lance has his takes about, like you should never have stand-ups, you just gotta get up. But I mean, this is an entertainment thing. Like they're in the entertainment business. If you're stalling like Mac and Cheese was,
shot clock.
It doesn't even need a shot clock. We just need refs to be just like if you're clinching up against the fence, just asking for more action. And if he gives it to you, then he can stay. If he's not and he's stalling, stand him up, because I mean, that was a bad one. Like he was stalling and not doing much. Like he wasn't really angling for subs, and he was landing little to no ground and pound. He was happy to just hold on and just hug Volkanovski. We've seen it in some other fights with Aljo and his patented backpacking. I think he does a little more ground and pound, but yeah, we just need more action. Like it is what it is. Like I understand that, it's back mount. It's a very good position, but you still got to do something with it.
Well, the reason that it's a very good position is because you're supposed to work there because it's such a dominant position that you should be able to do damage or finish the fight.
Subs that's
when you're taking this dominant position and turning it into a stalling position, like you've defeated the entire purpose of all the work that you did to get there. So I'm not a huge fan of stand-ups or breaks either. I mean, sometimes they absolutely have to be called for, but man, it's becoming too much of a trend in the wrong direction lately, and nobody enjoys it.
Especially at some high level fights. Like I feel like at some lower levels, guys kind of usually take some more risks. Whereas it seems like when we're getting, upper echelon, title fights and stuff like that, guys aren't willing to risk doing too much when they have the body triangle, and they just kind of ride it out. So I think something has to be done.
Born fucking Russians, man. I'll tell you. Scourge of the sport. It's the one thing that will never die. The other big fight that we'll hit on, gotta give credit to Yair. Just kicked the shit out of Emmett, and then when he got taken down, managed to find a triangle from his back as well. Like he is the interim featherweight champion, but he better hope that Volk doesn't come back down to featherweight, because I don't think that one goes so well for him, but hats off to him here.
Yeah, I think a lot of us have underestimated him, and we're skeptical of him for good reasons, I think, in certain circumstances. But the body kicks that he was landing, he hurt Emmett like right away. And I don't know if Emmett really ever recovered. I mean, he was able to kind of fight back. He even rocked Yair a bit.
There was that one like massive right hand that he landed that it like bent Yair's head all the way to the side, and in that spot that usually makes guys stumble all around. And Yair just ate it.
Yep. I mean, Yair did come out and say that he was rocked from that and was able to just get through. I mean, he is durable as hell. He takes an ass whooping, as we've seen when he gets in there with the upper echelon. But man, he's got a game that a lot of like nobody really has. His kicking game, and just his kind of all over the place striking. Volk with his wrestling and with his cleaner striking, I think we'll be able to kind of temper that, but it'll be a fun fight because Yair can take an ass whooping. So even if it is coming, he'll be there. So it'll be fun if it happens.
I hope it's as fun as the Yair Frankie fight. That was a classic.
That was quite enjoyable for many reasons. Definitely monetarily.
We will go through the rest of the card from the bottom up pretty quick. Let's do these in like groups of 3 or something. Yeah. So
we'll just go early prelim, then prelim, and that should be good.
Yeah, I don't know which ones are which. I think the first 3 were the early prelims, right?
First 4.
You
gotta rock the Wikipedia, Brad. That's the best.
Yeah. But then I don't get to see the beautiful pictures that we've got.
That's fair.
How can I break these fights down without pictures?
You need it.
Kicking off the night, lightweight division. Speaking of boring Russians, Zubera Tugmiov comes out and he did as little as possible to try and win like he always does, but didn't manage to pull out the win this time. Elvis got him. Featherweight division. I think we all kind of said this one on the podcast, but I don't know that any of us bet it because none of us really knew who Blake Bilder was. We just knew that Shane Young wasn't good, but Blake Bilder gets a unanimous decision as a little dog. Loma Lukbumi with a second round rear naked choke over Elise Reed. When you are getting choked out by a tiny Thai woman who doesn't know how to grapple, maybe find a different career. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. And Jack Jenkins, I didn't see this fight, so I have no idea, but he got the decision over Don Chyannis. Give me your thoughts, Sean.
Tugmiov won that fight, but I don't feel bad at all for him losing because he is boring. He never fights, and you can't feel bad. It's not like he was putting stamps on rounds. It's
missed weight too again.
Missed weight again. This dude is. I still don't know how he's still in the UFC with how little he fights and how much he kind of fucks up. But whatever. Yeah, Bilder looked pretty good in there. Luke Boonme, I had her in 2 different parlays that did not. Neither of them cashed, but she did her thing. Yeah, she just absolutely bullied Reed in the second round. Just tossed her to the ground, snapped up a sub. She's decent. I think Reed's just horrible. And it did get a little sketchy in there for old Jack Jenkins. I know there was 2 30-27s in there, but Chyannis did a little bit better than I expected. And I really needed Jenkins to get him out of there because that was one of the under 2.5 parlays that didn't cash. It wasn't really close. Chyannis could take a beating.
So they say. Prelims, Jamie Malaki took out the Argentinian Drew Dober. Well, I guess didn't take him out, but beat him over 15 minutes. At least the young fella went for it in the third rounds. Knew he needed a finish at that point and tried to get it. Just couldn't. Malarkey is decent, hang around the UFC type guy, and we'll see where Prado goes from here. Flyweight division, Clayson Rodriguez just smokes a dude who does not belong anywhere near the UFC. Josh Kulabau. You guys were all on the right side of this one, and I went Melsick way, but he got the second round rear naked choke, and the modest Bukaki. Tyson Pedro's manager couldn't swing this one. He got a step up with the short notice replacement, and he could not handle the modest Bukaki getting all up in his grill. Beautiful stuff there. Plus 200. That's for some reason I wasn't on. Shaun.
Yeah, I think Wes was. He was the only smart one. Yeah, I needed Malarkey to fight a little dumber for my under 2.5. He was just a better fighter. He was smart in there, grappled when he needed to, and the cleaner striker. The Rodriguez finish was just swarmed him. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that against anybody that's all right in the flyweight division, but if he's going to try that shit, that's going to be awesome. Flyweight fighters that kind of do that stuff are always going to be fun to watch. Bagdasarian and Kulabau, I bet Kulabau small. He obviously snatched that up. Bagdasarian was kind of getting the better of that. I think he won the first round. Kulabau just kind of snatched that out of nowhere, and props to him for being able to do that. I think we were a little bit lucky because I don't know if he would have been able to edge that decision if he wasn't able to just catch lightning in a bottle there. And then Tyson Pedro is horrible. He has about 4 minutes of cardio, and then he is just terrible. The modest Bukaki is not great, but at this weight class, he's got a little bit of cardio. He's got some decent striking. He can probably beat some pretty terrible fighters in that division.
Yeah, before the fight started, I had a bunch of crazy props that were all 4 digits or higher that I laid a few bucks on, and Pedro sub round 1 was one of them, because even though he's got knockouts in his last couple fights, he's not a knockout artist. And like you said, he's only got a couple minutes of cardio. So it's back to the drawing board for him. I mean, this isn't quite as bad as losing to Shogun and then disappearing for 3 years.
Yeah, the ghost of Shogun and getting scared away for 3 years. Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. Main card now. Munich should have got there. Almost got there. Menifield, knockdowns in multiple rounds. Obviously, the one in round 2 wouldn't have done anything for Munich, but Jimmy Crute managed to hang on and survive. So draw here. How do you feel about the draw?
I don't know. It's bad because we always bitch that they don't do anything about cage grabs. But it seems like it's either one extreme or the next. Either they don't do anything and just warn guys a million times, or you got Goddard in there that instantly takes a point. I would like some in between there where they just give you the position. And even if you want to give them half guard or something, it doesn't even have to be full guard. They should just give you the position on the ground in the middle of the cage and give you, half guard if that works. But they just won't do that. They just warn you or do nothing and just let cage grabs happen. And then in this random ass fight where he didn't grab it before that and he grabbed it once and Goddard's like, nope, this is my time. It is what it is. My bet wasn't going to catch on that either way. It's just consistency. It's just like everything else where we get these things that just never get called, and then in a random fight they get called, and you're just like, oh, I guess that's what MMA is all about. I sprinkled half on round 1 Menifield and half on inside the distance, and neither of those cashing was a bit heartbreaking. He had a bunch of chances, just couldn't get him out of there.
How do we feel about the Derek Cleary scoring around where Crute almost died for Crute?
He's put out some fucking bad cards recently, man. It's not good. I don't. He I don't know. Giving Crute round 1 is pretty wild.
Next two, we're both very quick. Not a lot to say here. Justin Tough landed the big one on my dude Porky Porker. A t-shirt in the pool legend drops, but we've got another one ready to rise up and take his place on that 10-meter platform, ready to cannonball into the pool this week. And then Jack Della Maddalena just buzzsaws Randy Brown. So a couple impressive performances for the Aussies in those ones.
Turns out running chin first at heavyweight is not the smartest tactic, and the Porker learned that the hard way. Impressive from Jack Della. His defense looked good. Like Randy Brown came out like a man on fire, was throwing that jab out, and for the most part, Maddalena was blocking it with a high guard, and he just caught him. And dude has power. Dude has clean striking. Like he's going to be very good. There's obviously parts of his game that are still quite a bit untested, but that striking is very, very nice to watch.
Very quick breakdown, recap, possibly the quickest in MMA analysis history. It's amazing what happens when there's only two of us around. So we are going to move on to UFC Vegas nice. UFC Vegas 69, but it's not nice.
It's not nice at all.
I mean, it is pretty hilarious that the week of, or was it like Sunday that they put Jessica Andrade in the main event of UFC Vegas 69? After she complained about her OnlyFans and not wanting to have it and all that sort of stuff.
That was Saturday. That was during the fight card.
Oh, there you go. I don't pay attention to these things, but Jessica Andrade in the main event against Erin Blanchfield, who is apparently good because she's the favorite in this fight. We'll get to that.
She's not the favorite.
Oh, sorry.
Just a close underdog.
Yes. We'll get to that one in a little bit because I'm sure the other 10 fights on this card are not going to take us too long to get through. Kicking it off, flyweight division. We have Juan Camilo Ronderos taking on Clayton Carpenter. No relation to Clay the Carpenter Guida, unfortunately. They don't look anything alike. I think if Clay Guida had a son that was as clean cut as Clay Carpenter, he'd be ashamed of him. Send him to the forest for months on end. Grow a beard and some hair, you yuppie. Anyway, Shaun, break this one down. Who are these guys?
I don't have much here. I got to be honest. When guys have a combined 11 fights, it's pretty tough. The Ronderos guy, he didn't fight for like 2 years. I mean, I get it because of COVID. He didn't fight in 2020, and then he fought against David Dvorak, and then hasn't fought since. So tough for me to back somebody like that. How good is Carpenter? I have no idea. Like this is, I think you're rolling the dice if you're backing either of these guys. I know Carpenter's a big favorite. I'll pick him in Toutmaster. Just taking the more active guy. Yeah,
this is. I don't have really a side that I'm looking at here because there's not enough on either of these guys. But man, you get two flyweights who are borderline UFC caliber, and the over 1.5 here is basically even money. I think it's like minus 125 to go over 1.5. That seems how most of these fights go. I know that Ronderos got finished early by Dvorak, but Dvorak's actually pretty good. Yeah. We really don't know what Carpenter is yet. So if I was going to play anything in this fight, it would be over 1.5. But even on this card, I think there are some better spots than that. Moving on to the welterweight division, we got AJ Fletcher taking on Temba Gorimbo. That's an awesome name. This dude doesn't even need a nickname. I don't know if he has a nickname, but his nickname is apparently the Answer, which I don't know. I don't know how that works. Just go by your normal name, dude. But what do you got here, Shaun?
So, I mean, I don't know much or at all about Gorimbo. AJ Fletcher is kind of a weird one because, like, he really impressed me against Semmelsberger in a loss. Looked good, early in the first couple of rounds. And then I kind of figured it was just kind of a late notice. He didn't really have the cardio to survive in round 3. And I really expected him to do well against Lusa in the next fight. And then he kind of got beat fairly easily. So I don't know what to make of this guy. I thought he would, really grapple and be able to take out Lusa, and none of that really happened. Does he go back to that against this guy? I don't know. This guy's he's got a ton of subs, so is I don't know if you can even can you guillotine that Fletcher? He's
good luck.
It's gonna be tough. Can you armbar that guy? That's gonna be tough as well. I'll pick Fletcher. He probably has to get it done early. Round 1 is like plus 275 at Bet365. If you're playing Fletcher, I think you probably have to play it that way. I'll probably just stay away.
Yeah, nothing on this one straight, but I do like that round 1 look for Fletcher. I think he's still a very dangerous fighter, a good athlete early on. Good athlete throughout the fight, but it really shows up in those early rounds. Gorimbo has not really faced anybody of note. I think he lost to Gina Mazzani's brother back in the day. So that's not great. But one of the lovely books up here in Ontario has Fletcher round 1 at plus 318. So took a little shot on that because, that's how he gets most of his fights done. And I would expect in a guy taking, I don't want to say it's a huge step up in competition, but at least a step up in terms of the level of athlete that he's facing. I think Fletcher might be able to find something early on in this one. Now we're into the millionaires. We got a former UFC title challenger taking on a former PFL tournament winner at heavyweight. These dudes have money, Shaun. Why are they the third fight from the bottom on this card? We got I'm just going by Tapology.
God damn it, you're going wrong.
I'm going by Tapology. I'll click over to Wikipedia. Are these guys actually on the main card?
No, you just skipped one fight where neither of the guys have Wikipedia pages, so it'll be quick, and then we'll be on to fight that we know where the guys are.
Fine, we're going with Nazim Sadykhov and Evan Elder. Nobody's ever heard of either of these guys. One apparently trains at Longo's gym, and Elder was on a Contender Series. I got nothing here at all.
Yep. Yeah, you got a Sarah Longo or Longo Weidman fighter, and the other guy trains at Nick Diaz Academy. So this is a pretty easy pick for me. I'll take the Longo fighter, Sadykhov in Toutmaster.
That is not where I was expecting to go with that. I figured
No.
Nick Diaz Academy, that's your boy.
Yeah, should we find the records if you take out the Diaz bros of guys who have trained at the Nick Diaz Academy? And
are you throwing shade at Martin Cano and the rest of the crew over there?
And Chris Avila and
legends, all of them.
Yeah, all of them.
This is this the Sadykhov? Yeah, Sadykhov. He's got a bunch of early wins against a bunch of guys that have like no fights. This is bottom of the barrel UFC type stuff. if you have an opinion on this fight, I kind of feel bad for you, because that means that you went out and willingly watched tape on these guys for some reason or another. But anyway, I digress. Moving up to the light heavyweight division. Now we got the rich boys. Off taking on, I mean, has there ever been a worse business decision than Felipe Lins winning $1 million in PFL for beating a bunch of absolute bums like my dude Jared Rosholt, and then coming over to the UFC to go like 0-17? Just incredible stuff. Galaxy Brain, whoever his manager is. But now they're both washed up and fighting each other on a shitty UFC fight night prelim in front of no fans.
Yay. Yeah, this one, I think so. This OSP opened at like plus 110, and Lynn's got absolutely hammered at Bet Online. OSP is an awkward fighter, and unless you can really just take him out, he's usually in close fights. Like he usually is able to kind of slow down the pace, push up against the fence, have slow, very minimal striking going on. I think it's a possibility in this fight. Like Lynn's, he does have some finishes, but at the UFC level, I don't know if he's an elite finisher, and if he's not, then I think Ospen can make this fight close. So, it probably should have been closer to kind of the opener, and now it's got pretty wayward. So, I'll on this type of card, I think I'm with limited options. I'm gonna have to put a small bet on the OSP.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you, unfortunately, in this one. I mean, Lynn's, all of his best wins are at heavyweight against guys that are either absolute slugs or blown up light heavyweights or middleweights. He doesn't seem to have much of a chin, which I don't think is necessarily a huge issue here, but also doesn't seem to have much cardio. The only fight that he has won since 2018 was because he was able to take down Marcin Prachnio a bunch of times. That's the only win that he's got. And I know that OSP's record isn't much better in that time, but at least he's fought some decent guys and actually fought. Lynn's is on some like Khabib level shit of pulling out of fights. If you look at all of the canceled fights that he's had, there's like one or two that are his opponent pulling out, or I think one of them was canceled due to COVID, but he's pulled out of like 8 fights in the last 2 years.
It's a lot of gray canceled on the old Tapology for Felipe Lins.
It is not a good look. I mean, we're betting on a dude that just went to a split with the ghosts of Shogun. But at plus 200 against this guy, I'll take the shot. I don't think that Lyns is going to be able to get takedowns, and then it just turns into an awkward striking match where, honestly, OSP has the better chance of getting a finish because he's the more durable of these two guys, and we've seen him finish better dudes than this relatively recently. So there's plus 190s out there at a bunch of spots, I think, and plus 185 out there right now at some spots, and for Canadians, plus 200 over at CoolBet, which is not too shabby at all. Featherweight division, this one is kind of interesting. Like in a fight full of absolute turds, maybe this is a slightly shinier turd in the old punch bowl. Featherweight division, Jamal Emmers taking on Hussein Shishkabab, who hasn't fought in like 4 years, but I think might be good. I don't know, question mark?
That is the question mark. I think the UFC does think fairly high of him because the fights that they were lining up with him against Joe Anderson, Brito, and Herbert Burns, those are decent first fights in the UFC. But obviously he had like visa issues and all kinds of other issues. So yeah, he hasn't fought since March of 2020. So a solid, almost 3 years without fighting. That's a bit scary. He is fighting at featherweight, and most of his fights recently were at bantamweight. Earlier in his career, he did fight at 45, but I would assume
put on that COVID-15.
That could be. I mean, like I said, he hasn't fought in 3 years, so maybe it's just smarter to fight at 45. Whether that's his, ideal weight class or not, I guess we'll see. Yeah, it's a tough one. There's lots of question marks. Probably should go with the Russian, but I guess we'll see what 3 years of rust looks like.
Yeah, no bet here for me. This is a tricky spot to be coming back at after 3 years away, because Emmers is not bad. Save for a bonehead move against Sabatini in his last fight, and he had that dude in trouble. I don't know how well that holds up after seeing Damon Jackson light Sabatini up in like 4 seconds. Maybe that just means that Sabatini doesn't have a good chin, but I think Emmers has some skills. His other losses are against decent guys, and he's put some wins up there against good guys earlier in his career. So he's fought a better level of competition. He's actually been in the UFC, actually been active somewhat recently. So I think this is a tough test. I wouldn't hate people, or I wouldn't disparage people who are taking a shot on Emmers here, but I'm just going to stay away from this one. A few too many question marks for me. Speaking of question marks, I don't know where I'm going with this one.
There's always going to be question marks when it's minus 500 women's fight.
Is a Lena Länsberg fight ever going to end inside the distance? That's the question here.
I don't think so. And that's why it's a bit terrifying if you're laying the minus 450, minus 500 on Bueno Silva. Judges are still terrible, and women's MMA and all that stuff. The pick is obviously going to be Bueno Silva. She is better. Länsberg is terrible, but props to you if you are laying that kind of juice and willing to do that in this level of a fight.
You know what? I think I might have to...
Are you breaking the rule?
No. I was going to say, I think I might have to scroll over to the old DraftKings and see what a Lena Länsberg split majority decision prop is. Because that seems like a possibility for this
16
fight.
plus 1,600.
I might have to do it. I started to develop this rule where if you see a women's fighter at more than plus 400 by decision, you should probably take it. She fits the bill in this spot, plus 550 by decision, but she's such a big underdog that it feels like you go split. That's the guaranteed money here, is the plus 1,600 on a split decision for Lena Länsberg. No interest in this. MBS, obviously, journalists should be careful around her. That's all I'll say with those initials. But yeah, she is not minus 500 good, even though she trains out of the same camp as Dubron. Main card, that was the prelim headliner. Main card is kind of full of hilarious fights, so I can't be too mad at this. I'm personally, there's a Rock home game this weekend, so I will be at that rather than than watching this main card live, but I'm kind of looking forward to catching up on it and seeing what hilarious shit happens in fights such as the lightweight battle between the UFC's all-time fights and wins leader, Jimmy fucking Miller, taking on Alex Hernandez. I was talking with our boy Magic in the DMs, and I said that I thought that Alexander the Great died from like malaria or some shit. I didn't think he died by Jimmy fucking Miller, Shaun, but that's what's about to happen here. Am I right or am I right?
It's possible. I don't think it's the likeliest possibility. What we know from Hernandez is if he brings the heat in round one, if you can withstand the heat, then it's troublesome. Miller is 39. I know he hasn't been finished and really finished early. I mean, he hasn't been finished since Dubronx in 2018.
Yeah,
it's pretty wild. But he is 39. He is taking damage in a decent amount of these fights. Hernandez is still a decent fighter in round one. So I do think Hernandez probably gets him out of there. If he doesn't, Jimmy fucking Miller is going to take over this fight and possibly strangle Alex Hernandez out. So I'm leaning to the under 2.5. It's about minus 180, minus 170. I'm probably going to have that in a parlay. That kind of covers myself with the Hernandez early or the Jimmy Miller mid to early late. I kind of think that's the way it goes. The pick is going to be Hernandez to get Jimmy Miller out of there. But the old man has surprised me recently, so who knows? Maybe he does it again.
Jimmy Miller is one of the few remaining money trains out there. If you like betting on the old men, he just finds a way to pull it off every time. And Alex Hernandez, 6 career losses. Billy Q, round 2. Renato Moicano, round 2. Drew Dober, round 2. Donald Cerrone, round 2. Shaun, do you see where I'm going with this one?
What is Jim Miller round 2, Brad?
At most places, plus 1,100. It's not bad. Not bad. I found a little plus 1180 out there. I'll take some of that. I've got a few round props in this one that are all round robin together. Just I think they're so ridiculous that $1 on the 4 of them turns into 14 grand. So I'm not expecting that to hit, but we'll see how it goes. But Jimmy Miller is going to survive. Alex Hernandez ain't no Dubronx. He's not going to hit him with the Dan Hooker IV knee. He might land some stuff, but he also seems to be in that mindset where he knows that the gas tank's a problem, and he holds back a little bit, or he tries to go to the grappling a little bit, and it backfires. So I think he's going to tire himself out, and Jim Miller's got quite a few round 2 finishes lately as well. He's the old man. Now that he's dealt with the Lyme disease, he knows how to pace himself. He's going to get it done. I like me some Jimmy Miller in this one. Honestly, I might even play him straight here, but definitely hitting that round 2 prop, because that would be hilarious. Will be hilarious, I should say. Light heavyweight division, continuing the trend of friends of the MMA analysis. Thick Willie Knight taking on the skinny pole Marcin Prachnio. If Willie doesn't do it here, he's never going to do it, Shaun. It's got to be the time, right?
It has to be the time. I'm honestly surprised that everybody wants to fight, so maybe I shouldn't be surprised that he's back in there. They're giving him a shot. I mean, Prachnio is there. There is a path there. Linz was obviously able to take Prachnio down and get some good top control. I think that's the way that Thick Willie's going to have to do the job here. It's been a tough 2 fights for the thickness. Don't
be down on the thickness. Be down with the thickness, Shaun.
I know. It's making me question the thickness, which is a sad time. But I'll be pulling for Thick Willie. Prachnio is still that guy. He is not that good. Let's just hope that the thickness is in full effect on Saturday.
Is there a weirder UFC result since COVID started than Prachnio getting the decision, like winning a decision, like not just getting a decision, but winning a decision over Khalil Roundtree?
That fight still, like, I don't know who possessed Khalil Roundtree in that fight, but that did not seem like the real Khalil Roundtree.
No, that was something special, but you know what? I don't think that Thick Willie is going to run into the same issues that he did against Devin Clark and Max Grishin, who are guys that, you know, they still got it in the 3rd rounds. Prachnio doesn't have much of anything past the 1st, doesn't have a great chin. I mean, you know, he's getting taken down and controlled by Felipe Lins. If the thickness gets on top of him, he might never get up, even after the bell rings. He's just flattened. He's stuck there forever. Or he might just get mushroom stamped right out the gate. So I think Thick Willie's got multiple ways to get this done. The most likely to me, takedown and some of that hog-assisted ground and pound where you got gravity working with you. And I think he can get Prachnio out of there. So I like Thick Willie. There's still, again, going back to the Canadian books, Cool Bet still has him at even money. So the one place you can still find a plus symbol beside Thick Willie. But Lance and I talked about this one. We were on the same page. Thick Willie inside the distance. There's a couple plus 200s out there. A couple plus 190s and 180s if you find the right spots. That is going to be this week's Munich. Didn't go so well for us last week. Should have, but
bounce
didn't.
Back.
Got to bounce back. I mean, what, 763 and 3 after last week? I mean, you can't win them all. Can't win them all, Shaun. Heavyweights, we're keeping it. I mean, just keeping it in the upper echelons for this card. Jamal Pogo taking on my boy, the misplaced Armenian from the Midwest, Carbo Parisian. You know, what I do like about this is Thick Willie, he laid off the Carbos for this one, and he's back down at 205, which I think bodes very well for him. But Carbo, he needs to load up on the Carbos. Hit that heavyweight limit and make sure he brings the weight advantage into this fight as much as possible, because he certainly will not be the more athletic fighter in this one. Shaun, thoughts?
2.5 juice to the over. That is what we're dealing with the 3rd fight from the top here. I don't know what to say. This is very bad. This is very low level heavyweight. The Carbo is proven that he is not very good, but this is still low level heavyweights, and one guy is plus 200. I will probably pick the Carbo in Toutmaster.
Wow, that's ballsy.
Is it?
I think so. I don't know.
Is Pogo good?
None of them are good.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is it's hard to have an opinion on this.
That's how bad it is.
That probably means that you should lean in the direction of Carbo. What's the Carbo decision line here? It's got to be like 4.
I doubt it. It is. You know, you're looking like 450, 500 some places.
Yeah. Damn. Could see that.
When over 2.5 is minus to 130.
Right.
Yeah.
It's sometimes, you know, I don't advise doing too much math because I don't want our listeners to hurt their brains. But sometimes some things are just weird. Like this fight should go the distance. It's basically even money to go the distance. And there's a guy that's plus 500 to win by decision. So 2 not good heavyweights who have never beaten a good fighter and have lost to anyone decent that they've fought. Might be worth the shot there. You might have talked me into that one, Shaun.
Oh God.
I know you weren't trying to, but you might have talked me into it anyway. Definitely going Carbo as far as the Tout Master goes in this one. We haven't done a Tout Master update in a while. We're not going to do it this week. I think I might be in dead last because I have had the shittiest start to a UFC betting year that I have ever had. I've been doing this for a while, but we'll do that later in the year once I've caught back up. We'll see. Co-main event time. I'm not sure if the folks are ready for this one, Shaun.
Oh my God.
We got a big co-main event on tap. Light heavyweight division. Tough loser Zach Pauga dropping down from heavyweight where he got knocked out by Kamaru Usman's brother who doesn't know how to throw a punch. And he's taking on the Beverly Hills Ninja who's coming up from middleweight. This is a banger. It's a banger, right, Shaun?
Yeah, I mean it's co-main event material if that's what you're looking for. Yeah, like Pauga was a minus 300 favorite against Usman. He looked decent until he got caught. That's dumb low-level heavyweight stuff. So he obviously is a light heavyweight. Like he's not a natural heavyweight. He just did that for tough. So he's back at the proper weight class. Beverly Hills Ninja is not good. He's got about 3 minutes of cardio, I would say. It might, I don't know. All of a sudden, he's turned into this grappler. He's trying to grapple all of a sudden, and I think that's going to be worse on his cardio. I don't know. Like, what's Pauga round 2? Like, that's the kind of stuff that that you kind of want in some situation like this. Like, it's a
plus 600 is the
600.
Best out there.
Like, yeah, it's not amazing, especially because the Beverly Hills Ninja could easily just get knocked the fuck out in a couple minutes. He's not good. I'll pick Pauga, but not betting this. It's a terrible fight.
I'm going the other way.
Oh,
Pauga has shown me nothing. I didn't watch his season of The Ultimate Fighter, so I'm not like Wes, where I'm swayed by some shitty performances in a tough house over even shittier fighters. He weighed like 240 something pounds going into that tough finale. Already had a bad chin there. Now he's dropping down to 205. Chin's going to be even worse. The Beverly Hills Ninja is going to be so much faster than him that he is going to look like an actual ninja and not just a fat Chris Farley ninja. I'm taking the Beverly Hills Ninja. I'm going to take him in round 1. I sent you that line earlier today. What was it, 654?
Yeah.
Plus 654 for the Beverly Hills Ninja in round 1. When his money line is plus 230, I mean, the dude only finishes people in round one. That's all he knows how to do. He doesn't have any cardio. So I think this is the spot. He's seen this dude on Tough. He's seen that he doesn't have any power. And this is a spot where he gets back to his striking. And going to be easy work for the Ninja. We're going to go half unit on the round one for Beverly Hills in this one. And that's going to right all of the wrongs that I have earlier in this card. And then finally, we get to the main event, highly anticipated fight in the women's flyweight division, made 4 days ago between Jessica Andrade and Erin Blanchfield. And before we get into the breakdown, I've got to call out another Erin, not the one we talked about earlier. He's still in the good books because he got the chat with Thick Willie, but former co-host or guest host of the show, Aaron Waters Show, he was talking about how nobody told him that Erin Blanchfield was hot. And like, I'm not one to disparage anybody. If you've listened to this podcast, you know I am as fair and impartial as it comes. But Erin, dude, what are you thinking? What's going on? Do we need to send out a search party to San Diego? Like, come on.
The man has his type, I guess.
Anyway, we've got a relatively closely aligned fight here. I know that the hype on Blanchfield is big, but you're going from fighting the Molly McCanns and JJ Aldriches of the world to now you're stepping up and you're actually fighting somebody that you can't just do whatever you want to. So, Shaun, does Blanchfield have it in her to take out Jessica Andrade, even a short notice Jessica Andrade?
I don't know. This is going to be a pretty big test. If you look at that JJ Aldrich fight, I mean, Aldrich, I think, won round one against her, and then she was able to, just out muscle Aldrich and then took her out on the ground. I have a tough time seeing her being able to bully Jessica Andrade, especially early. Aldrich was able to kind of outstrike her on the feet early. I don't think that Erin Blanchfield has the grit that old Lauren Murphy has. So if she gets hit by some of those shots that Andrade was throwing in that fight, it's going to be a rough night for her. To me, this just seems like a kind of people jumping on the hype train. I mean, she was the underdog in the Miranda Maverick fight, and I know people were kind of hyped up on Miranda Maverick, and then she beats her there, looked really good in it, and then obviously is a huge favorite against Aldrich, looked bad early, and then got it done. And then she obviously squashed Meatball Molly because Meatball Molly is not good. So I don't know if it's just like people that like Barstool just think all of a sudden just because you squashed Meatball Molly that you're good or something like that. But very surprised by this line. Surprised that it's continuing to move closer to just closer and closer. I'm going to be betting Andrade. Unfortunately, I wish her money line keeps coming down and her inside the distance just stays the same. They're kind of smart in that way because I do think Andrade probably has to get her out of there somewhat early. I really like the under 4.5 is like minus 200, I think, minus 195. I think I'm going to be putting that in the Hernandez and what's his name? Jim Miller under 2.5. But I'll obviously be on Andrade as well. Minus 129 at Bet Online. I think you gotta take the the more proven fighter who's been in a bunch of title fights, a lot of 5-round fights. There's still question marks. I understand there is some hype on Blanchfield, but there's a lot of question marks, and she's going in there with somebody who is going to test those question marks.
I get where you're going with the under there, but you're aware that Blanchfield went to decision against Kay Hansen and Sarah Alpar, right?
That was only 3 rounds, and my thoughts are if Blanchfield is going to win, she is going to have to grapple, and that should tire out Andrade late in the fight, and then she can grab a sub. That's kind of my thinking there.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah, it's Jessica Andrade for me. I mean, I'm not too concerned about the cardio in this fight. Has Blanchfield, even in her Invicta days, ever gone 5 rounds? I did not check that out. I imagine she probably fought for an Invicta belt before. Do they have championships in Invicta? I don't know. Is that? I'm actually clicking through right now, and
she was only in 3-round fights.
She has never been in a 5-round fight before. I mean, I don't think that she has bad cardio. I mean, we've generally seen her get stronger in fights as they've gone, but Jessica Andrade also doesn't have bad cardio. I mean, look back to what she was doing to Rose in the 3rd round of their rematch. Like, she knows how to fight across 5 rounds. I know this is short notice, but man, this is a massive step up. This is a leap up a mountainside for Erin Blanchfield. And this is the first time that really she is going to be physically outgunned in a fight. And it's always interesting to see how fighters deal with that. But they're going to exchange, and Andrade is going to hit way harder. They're going to lock up, and Andrade is going to be way stronger in this fight. As far as skills go, I don't know. Blanchfield might be a slightly better grappler, but I don't think that it's a big enough advantage to weigh out or to outweigh the physical advantages that Andrade has in this fight and the experience that Andrade has at this level. So the fact that this is dropping down under -130, I think it's kind of nuts. I get that it's short notice, but we're talking about someone that's been in there with only the top 10 and top 5 fighters across multiple divisions against someone who's never been in there with a top 10 fighter in any division. So I got to go with Jessica Andrade. Shaun's going with Jessica Andrade. Consensus this week is Jessica Andrade. And, we give those out based on the Bet Online lines. So it's -129 right now. That is the consensus bet of the week. Saving it for the main event because it's honestly, other than the hilarious fights, it's one of probably the only good fight on this card. Just a whole mess from top to bottom, but hopefully Jessica Andrade will be there at the end of the day to save the day. And that's going to do it for us. We managed to stay right around an hour. We had a little fun, got off the beaten path a little bit as we do on this show, but that will do it for this week's edition of the MMA Analysis. We'll be back next week? ? I never know when the next card is. I don't look ahead. I'm a man who likes to live in the moment, Shaun.
It's another rough one next week. Surprise, surprise, with a main event of Nikita Krylov taking on Ryan Spann.
Nikita Krylov, you mean the future 2023 light heavyweight champion, Nikita Krylov?
That is correct.
This is the start of it right here. So We'll see. You guys know what side I'm going to be on in that fight, but you'll have to tune in next week to see where the rest of the guys stand. That will do it for us. Check out the Hammer Betting Network, the hammer.bet. For your other sports needs, we don't do that stuff. I mean, Shaun does the hockey, I do the lacrosse, but we try and keep those within the inner circle, if you know what I mean. So we will see you guys next week, but until then, enjoy the fights.